This is going to be a relatively short video to give you all a recap of where the playthrough is so far, and what my intentions going forward with this series are. While I do find streaming and chatting with my friends can bring an extra level to the experience, I don't believe Metroid Prime is the game to be doing this. To me, I just feel like I lose some element of immersion in the world when I continuously have to check on my chat and see what all is going on with that. For me, it detracts from the overall experience, but with that being said, I still want to share this incredible game with you all, and have no intentions of not finishing the playthrough of the first two games. With that being said, these are some of my thoughts. My first thought is I will still be uploading every Monday, but in the form of recordings. This allows me to play the game at my own pace while still pushing content. The second thought is these streams can get very long, and everyone has busy lives, so I don't expect everyone to sit down for 2+ hours and watch the video. However, with that being said, I will provide shorter uploads and include timestamps. This will make it easier for anyone wanting to watch the entire playthrough. It will also allow you to recontinue the adventure from where you left off. My third thought is I want you, as the viewer, to make your own discoveries. And hopefully by doing all this, it will create a bit of immersion and investment for you as well. I believe my commentary can at times get in the way of this. So, whether this is the right decision or not, this is the direction I will be moving towards heading forward. For lighter games, like multiplayer and party games, Mario Party, Mario Kart, I will still provide live streams for those, as I find there to be a lot of fun elements with that. So like an example, when I get distracted talking in chat, and then I completely flop on a minigame in Mario Party, or get hit by a banana while, playing Mario Kart. My intention isn't to be the best, it never was, it was to have fun, so that's, I guess, the point I'm trying to make. My second motive to creating this video is to give you a short recap of where I stand in the Metroid Prime playthrough. This would be, like I said, short, and I will include some game footage in order to ensure that you have all the necessary details going forward. This recap will include my first two streams. So, where we're at in the playthrough so far, the first thing we did is we boarded a derelict space vessel that was in orbit around the planet Talon 4. I want to include my thoughts on the prologue that make it unique, and ways it sticks true to the overall Metroid series, since it did make the jump from 2D to 3D with this game. So what I really appreciate is, instead of throwing us into a combat-heavy environment that really gets us into the grind of, we gotta beat the bad guys, we gotta beat the enemies, it kinda eases us in by letting us explore our environment first, and getting to see Talon 4 from space, getting to see the derelict spaceship, all of these different elements. We're introduced to some of the classic weapons, and some of the classic, equipment, such as the beam and the charge beam shots, as well as being able to use our visor. And I think the visor, using this right off the bat, really sets the mood for this game. It's not super heavy combat oriented. There are times where you do have to do that, but the main emphasis is on story and exploration. So the visor, it just adds an extra element to the world building, as we could see from the perspective of Samus for the first time, and uncover clues that would otherwise be relatively unknown to us. So from here we delve a little further into the spaceship, and we begin to see weaker creatures along with weakened space pirates. This gives us as players a basic understanding of the combat mechanics and learning how to pivot in order to evade enemy contact. While it's not too difficult, It is in my opinion, a very basic beginner guide to learning combat in the Metroid Prime series. Additionally, through the scans we make, we begin to discover that something has been happening on the ship, and why the space pirates are here to begin with. Through the use of our visor, we can see the space pirate logs that entail the smuggling of Metroids in order to use them as bioweapons. That, coupled with other various experiments, we get a clear picture of how these science experiments turned on the pirates really quickly, and leaving most of them either dead or in a very weakened state. So, as we explore, we find vast amounts of creatures from Talon 4 locked up in cages and other abominations dead on the floor. Once again, we can use our scans to try to get a better picture and to identify what these creatures are and what happened to them. The further we delve, the stronger the resistance becomes, and it's getting us ready for our first boss fight of the series, which is the Parasite Queen. For some of you who have played Smash Bros, you are very familiar. You have seen the Parasite Queen many times before. It is that big, fat, like insect-looking creature that's kind of hidden behind like a see-through cage. I think the stage was originally on Melee, but I know it's been remastered since, so you've seen the Parasite Queen, but maybe you just never made the connection, so that's our first boss fight. And after our confrontation, after winning, we are left in a weakened state, as we are blown back and we lose most of our upgrades. So all we have to work with is our visor and our standard beam shot. The Varia suit gets lost among, or as well as the Morph Ball and the Morph Ball Bomb. However, this is kind of the least of our concerns at this point, as the ship is about to self-detonate. So we rush through a series of corridors and try to escape and try to, because we're going to be fighting space pirates at the same time, and, shooting at turrets, shooting at different insects, and that, coupled with the amount of time we have to escape, we also see towards the end that we find one of our old nemesis, Ridley. So after we exit the ship and make our way back to our own ship, we see Ridley take off towards Talon 4's surface, and we decide to follow in hot pursuit in order to discover what his intentions are and to finally and hopefully defeat him once and for all. So upon landing on the surface of Talon 4, we are greeted with a more comforting, more upbeat song, and this always kind of, especially when I first played it, but even coming back to it, it kind of gives me a sense of hope, despite our weakened state and everything that had just happened to us. And we begin to explore the area around us, and for me, I'm just absolutely amazed with the attention to detail. There's just so many things that really suck you into this world. So we discover that pretty much anything that comes into contact with our visor has this element of realism. It's almost like we are the bounty hunter. We can see the rain bouncing off our visors as we watch a rainstorm pass overhead, or steam from old Chozo pipes that get into our visor and it kind of fogs our vision, or getting to see our reflection as something explodes in front of us. So kind of going beyond some of the attention to detail this game really provides, and our kind of upbeat mood, we are quickly... that begins to quickly fade as we see the Chozo ruins have succumbed to some sort of evil presence. We discovered this through a series of Chozo lore that is left behind in order to guide us and to give us better direction of where the overall story is kind of heading. So, if you're not familiar with who the Chozo are, I'm going to take this time to just give as quick of an explanation as I can. So, the Chozo are basically humanoid birdmen with vast amounts of knowledge and technology. Think of them as like one of the smartest and most intelligent beings in the universe, in the galaxy, you know. These guys were the original creators of the Metroids, and the reason for them doing so is because they had detected on their homeworld this parasite called Parasite X, and the point of the Metroids is to suck the life force from other beings, from other entities. So it was, to them, at the time, the perfect combat to the Parasite X, because they would literally just suck their life force without any harmful side effects, which we see playing, if you've played other Metroid games, it's not necessarily the case, because they kind of turned on us, right? So going a little bit further back, even than that, kind of to Samus's origin story, the Federation is the Galactic Federation. You can kind of see it as like, trying to get an example, like if you've watched Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's essentially like that kind of level where there's always a group enforcing some sort of law, but they have different colonies and different ships located throughout the universe, and the Federation, since they had grown so much, sought to create a technology to better assist them in communicating between not only their ships but also their colonies, and to improve the transference of information. So they asked the Chozo for assistance, and they came up with a solution, which we, if you've played the other games, find out that it is Mother Brain before she is corrupted. And this was Samus's first encounter with the Chozo. So shortly after this first encounter, Samus's homeworld was brutally massacred by the space pirates at the hands of Ridley, because the space pirates found out that they had this technology, they had Mother Brain, and they wanted it for themselves. So she was the only survivor within her colony, and pretty much watched her parents be brutally murdered in front of her. And after all this, after all this aftermath and the destruction, the Chozo showed up and found Samus and took her in as, one of their own. And they took her to one of the Chozo's homeworlds called Zebes, and infused her with their own DNA in order to help her survive the conditions of the planet, because her body was not used to it. She was also taught how to fight, and was gifted with the set of Chozo armor, so when you see the Varia suit, that's actually Chozo technology. And this kind of gives her her iconic look. So obviously there's a lot more to it, but that's like basically the long story short, is the Chozo are these super intelligent birdmen. They saved Samus as a child. They gifted her with the Varia suit. So, the Chozo that colonized on Talon 4, however, were not the same as the ones that were on Zebes, because the ones on Zebes embraced technology a lot more, whereas the ones on Talon 4 really didn't. And through the lore and different ancient texts that's embedded on the wall, we can see how these Chozo turned from technology over time and began to embrace the wonders of the planet. They sought to be more attuned with nature around them. They sought to embrace nature to become one with it. However, this obviously didn't last, as what they called the Great Cataclysm, in the form of a meteor, struck their homeworld, and it brought about this what they call poison that slowly began corrupting the minds of all living creatures that came into contact with it. So, seeing the terrible effects of this, they knew that it was pretty much too late to save themselves, and they knew that their existence was pretty much forfeit at this point, and decided to throw all their chips into sealing and containing the poison that was at the core of the planet. While they did not completely stop what had already been corrupted on the surface, they were able to drastically slow the poison from spreading to the rest of the planet, and left clues and weapons to what they called an entrusted savior, in hopes that this being, whoever it was, could bring a stop to the evil that was growing. And obviously, since Samus already has a lot of Chozo technology with her as far as her suit, her power suit, she is the perfect candidate for being this individual. So now that we kind of have some additional clues from the Chozo lore, we can begin to track down some of the different weapons. So in our playthrough, we first acquire the missile launcher by defeating a hive of insects. From there, we travel a little further into the Chozo ruins and find this large plated beetle that's guarding the Morph Ball upgrade. So, after we quickly dispatch that, we're able to get back into the Morph Ball and helps us get into smaller spaces that we couldn't originally get into. After that, we make our way to the Watery Hall within the Chozo ruins and find these set of runes hidden throughout the room that are basically keys to this door, and once we unlock this door, it grants us a more powerful version of our standard beam shot, which is called the Charge Beam Shot. And this is an iconic weapon throughout all the Metroid games, and it's also branched over to other games as well, like in Super Smash Bros. One of the last places we go to in the Chozo ruins is called the Burn Dome, and we discover an old technological achievement of the Chozo, which is called the Burn Drone. So this is kind of a remnant of their technology that they used to have. And while we're being relentlessly attacked by this drone along with the swarm of insects, we're trying to also defeat this drone at the same time. However, we're able to successfully take down the drone, and we acquired the Morph Ball Bomb. So this helps us access more areas that were initially hidden, such as crumbling structures that we can blow up with the bomb, or help us dispatch of different kinds of enemies going forward. And the big plus to getting the Morph Ball Bomb also gives us access to areas that might be hiding missile expansions or tank expansions in order to further increase the amount of missiles we can carry, or increase our amount of overall health. Lastly, we make our way to what looks like a large coliseum, and this is known as the Sun Chamber. And upon entering, we can see a large plant-like creature known as Flagra, and it appears from this flowering object in the center of the room. So this is our first true, I want to say our first true boss encounter outside of the spaceship when we obviously fought the Parasite Queen. So after trying to figure out the patterns, we're able to easily dispatch a Flagra, and are gifted finally with our Varia suit. So our iconic look with the big shoulder plates, we finally get that back, and the suit gives us extra damage resistance, along with heat resistance that we need to be able to delve further into the planet. So this is where I kind of leave off from the last two videos. We made our way to Magmore Caverns in search of Ridley, and to also uncover the mysteries of the planet and ways we can further upgrade our weapons and armor. If you guys like this video, or have critiques with me going forward in the series, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I am super open to changes, and want this to be a place where you can explore the mysteries of Metroid Prime, and be just as amazed as I was the first time I played through this game. I can't say it enough, it's truly a masterpiece and a one-of-a-kind experience, and I hope someday, if you haven't played it, this video will inspire you to go pick it up for yourselves. And thank you for watching. I hope to have another video posted next Monday, and we will further explore into Magmore Caverns. Thanks a lot, guys.